And Justin joins us now. Justin, with a couple of days of reflection, what are you most proud of in getting PGA Tour win number 11 at Pebble Beach, of all places?
Yeah, thanks, Damon. Good to be on with you guys. And yeah, definitely. Listen, it's been a whirlwind actually getting home, flown back to England. So, one good night's sleep. It's funny how you rest easy, with having just lifted a trophy. And, there's a lot of contentment last night when my head hit the pillow for sure. But I think, definitely some sense of relief. I didn't really realize, well, obviously, if you think about it, it's 4 years, but, it doesn't quite feel like 4 years. It slipped by since the last win. And, I felt like there was a huge opportunity, on Monday and Sunday and Monday to sort of get that one chalked off and get that sort of momentum back on my side. So yeah, it was a key victory, I suppose, to try to sort of get the confidence going again and get the momentum back, I suppose.
Justin, when those 4 years pass for a guy who's in his late 30s, moving into his early 40s, does it creep into your mind that maybe the 10th victory on the PGA Tour was the last one? Do you lose belief to some degree that there's another one coming?
Yeah, I think, listen, we're pretty good as golfers of dealing with, a good year being 1 or 2 wins and shaking off the other sort of 20 events that you play. So, we are used to the cliches of, it's a process and it's a journey and, I'm gaining on it and it's just, I need a few more reps and, all of these wonderful things that distract us from the fact that we're not winning. So I think I was leaning into that side of things quite heavily, but at some point, yeah, you just do need to have a result to really prove it to yourself. I think that, when you're watching guys like Rory win and John Rahm win and you're not playing your best, the gap can feel, massive, I suppose. But, in reality, and I've learned this a couple of times in my career, really the gap is always pretty small, and it doesn't take too much to close that gap. 1 or 2 good shots, a bit of momentum, and then the confidence starts to build. But yeah, I think obviously the key to doing it consistently, that's a whole nother realm of, of work to be done. But yeah, it's awesome to kind of know that the horsepower is still there and, still available and can still get the job done.
Justin, we spoke about 4 years ago, I want to say, at a long ago Scottish Open, and you told me you were looking for the cherry on top of the sundae. That's how you described your career. Was Pebble the cherry? Is it a second major? Is it another Ryder Cup? How would you describe the cherry?
Yeah, listen, I think the cherry is still hopefully to come for sure. But, I'm at a stage in my career where, things were beginning to downtrend in the sense of, you're beginning to put myself into situations where I was maybe not in the Masters and maybe not in these events that, would kind of provide the opportunity to create that cherry on top of that pretty good Sunday. So I feel like this was a huge stepping stone towards that. Obviously, winning on the PGA Tour is always incredibly difficult, but to do it at a place like Pebble Beach, I think just gives it, some more satisfaction and it gives me, another memory, another place to walk down memory lane, another place to take my children one day and say, hey, I actually was able to win a tournament here and just kind of be in awe of the beauty of the place. So it's a very special win for sure. But also I would just say it was a really fundamental win for me in terms of what I'm hoping it can propel me, onto still.
Justin, what is it about you and difficult golf courses? Because you win at Merion, you win at Aronimink, you win at Congressional, you win at Muirfield Village, you win at Colonial, and now you're winning at Pebble Beach. Is there something about the way you approach the game or the way you play the game? When you look at this list, even going back to Huntingdale in Australia, you win on high-quality venues. What is it about your mindset or approach to these courses that translates to victory?
I'm not entirely sure, but one thing I do, and I do spend a lot of time doing, is the preparation side of tournament golf. The night before, I was spending a lot of time on my yardage book, planning out my round, understanding where the good spots, the bad spots are to miss, trying to figure out what my game plan is. And, when I've played with guys like Tiger Woods, I would say, yeah, he's incredibly impressive in terms of the shots that he hits, but what really impresses me is when he's in trouble and how he approaches the game from there. He's the ultimate chess player. He's won countless majors, hitting irons off the tee in Open Championships. Even though he's had the raw power to his disposal, he's never really leaned on that side of his game. He's always leaned on the strategy side. And I think that maybe that's, learning those lessons and watching how he's approached it is a way that I feel like I like to play the game.
Justin, earlier this week, we had a conversation about your resume, whether we think you're worthy of the World Golf Hall of Fame. Eamon and I both think you're like this close, very, very close, maybe a win or two, or that cherry, that elusive cherry that you talked about. But what do you think at this point, having been #1, Olympic gold medalist, a FedEx Cup champ, a U.S. Open champ, do you think you're a Hall of Famer already?
I mean, that's not for me to decide. Listen, I think if you throw the Payne Stewart Award in there too, it's a huge honor, and they're accolades that I'm just very grateful to have, on the list. I feel like I've done everything in the game, albeit done it once, right? I haven't won multiple majors and things like that, which obviously do count for a lot. But if you look at just ticking boxes, I've ticked pretty much every box there is to tick in the game. But yeah, I want more of it. I want the cherry. Obviously, career Grand Slam is the ultimate dream, to be able to win, every major championship. That's the holy grail, I think, in terms of an accomplishment in the sport. So that's still what sort of drives the dreams and the motivation and the practice. So I think that if you think you're there, that's probably it's not a healthy mindset. I feel like I still need to stretch to get there. That's going to be the best thing for me in terms of performance going forward.
Justin, there are a lot of your peers, a lot of your friends at the same points in their career opted to go and play the Live Golf League instead of remaining on either the DP World Tour or the PGA Tour. Why did you decide to stick it out on the PGA Tour chasing these victories?
Yeah, I just think, I've obviously debated it back and forth. And, like you said, a lot of my friends have gone, and, they'll still remain my friends and continue to be my friends. And certainly don't think badly of the decision at all. But I just feel like I had to look at myself, and I had to feel like I didn't have those exemptions to carry me through into the major championships. So, for me, I had to earn my spot in those major championship fields. And the only way to do that was to play golf that's been recognized by, world ranking points and obviously the organizations that run the major championships. So from that point of view, I had to honor the process, really. And that was what was still ultimately the most important thing to me. And at the age of 42, I felt like, you know what, there's still a little bit of fight there, and some opportunity, and that's obviously what I would say that was the real selling point of the decision. That had to be a big fundamental part of it.
Part of that process and decision making, I imagine, would be the Ryder Cup as well. How much has that been on your mind, especially with Luke Donald as captain, trying to make a 6th Ryder Cup team for Team Europe?
Yeah, I mean, Luke, I'm obviously delighted for Luke, and I think he's done a great job so far, actually. He's been very active amongst the players. He's obviously down there at the Hero Cup. I think it was fantastic for him to see the bonding and the rivalry and competitive spirit that's, in there amongst the GB&I team versus Team Europe. And, obviously, although it was intensely competitive, the Hero Cup, it also forged friendships and bonds, I think, and also the competitive spirit. So I think he's up and running on his captaincy, and he's been sort of in touch with me about what my plans are and my progress and, how my year looks, and he's keeping a keen eye on everything. So, I've had to tell him that I feel like I need to keep my head down at the moment and just kind of work on my game and put myself first in the sense of, getting my form back, because there's one thing making the team, and the other thing is making the team and actually winning points for your team and getting the job done. So that's obviously the priority for me, is just to, keep nudging the stick forward and, make sure that getting to Rome is priority one, and, priority. And then priority number one is actually making the points that are going to help the team.
Justin, you're best known, obviously, for the US Open win at Merion back in 2013, but you have been painfully close in some other majors. The runner-up 3 times, top 3 in all of the major championships. Is there any of the majors coming up that you think gives you the best opportunity to add to that legacy and get a second major?
As a British player, you always maybe think you'd have to be the Open Championship, but I think, quite honestly, I feel the most comfortable at Augusta. It's a venue that I still continue to feel inspired at. It's a place that I love being. It's a place I enjoy the practice rounds. So, it's a week that just feels right to me. And, 2017 was probably the most painful experience I've had on a golf course. But, you're not going to skip through your career without one of those moments. If you're a good enough player to put yourself in contention consistently, you're not going to come out of it without a scar or two. So, I feel like I've experienced that. And, Yeah, Augusta offers me that opportunity. I putt really well there. I know the greens well there. I've done a lot of work on them in the past. I feel like my note taking through the years has been great. So I know they're always sort of changing something at the golf course, but I feel like I know my way around it. So it's just a matter of hitting the shots, which can often be the hard part. But I know how to get around the course.
Well, Justin, at Pebble, it was a classy win by a classy player. Congratulations on PGA Tour win number 11. We'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, guys, hope so. All right, enjoy the week there. Enjoy the party.